What do Amelia Earhart, Jennifer Lopez, Barry Bonds, Zelda Fitzgerald, Michael Richards, Rose Byrne, Patty Jenkins, and Linda Carter all have in common? All of these people share a birthday, July 24th. It is also my birthday. If you want to know how old I am, I was born the exact same day as Mara Wilson, who you may remember from Mrs. Doubtfire or the 1996 version of Matilda. If you felt any nostalgia when I showed you the people I've already mentioned, then like me, you're old enough to have at some point in your life dealt with insecurities related to aging. I'm a part of Generation Y, better known as a millennial. As of the release of this video, millennials range in age from late 20s to early 40s, which puts us in that sweet spot when we feel like there are at least a few drops remaining at the bottom of the barrel of youth before the inevitable barrel of middle age arrives. But why do we value youth so much, and why do we fear aging when the alternative is worse? Let's begin with why we value youth. I believe society's obsession with youth boils down to two major characteristics we associate with the expansion of our species: fertility and productivity. This likely explains the gender dynamic of how society views aging. When we're in our 20s, the dating market seems to primarily value women due to their youth and physical attractiveness. After that, the dating market seems to even out and then eventually transitions the advantage to men due to the acceptable levels of status and resources they reach in their 30s and beyond. There is also a culture dynamic to aging. I've heard that in cultures outside of America, especially East Asian cultures, the elderly are more respected than they are here in the United States. This could be an unfortunate byproduct of the US's economic system that ties human value to productivity. While capitalism certainly has its pros and cons, it is a system based on profits, and eventually we all reach an age when we're simply not able to contribute to the economy at the efficiency we were once capable of. And this is one of the reasons why many of us fear aging. To dive deeper into why we fear aging as one's overactive mind naturally does on his birthday, I realized that aging insecurities trigger the 5 stages of grief. Denial, for example, I can't believe I'm X years old. Anger, for example, I'm so angry that I'm not where I expected to be at this point in life. Bargaining, for example, what if I start dieting and exercising and taking supplements? Depression. For example, there's nothing I can do to go back in time. And lastly, acceptance. For example, I should just make the best of the precious time I have left on this earth, whatever that might be. The denial stage can manifest in a number of ways. An obvious way is thinking about your current age and recalling a past point in life when one of your elders was younger than the age you are now, and remembering how old that elder seemed to you back then. Or that when my mom was my age, she already had a son who was in high school. Then there's this popular meme: I'm at the delusional age where I think everyone my age looks older than I do. Now let's talk about the anger stage. This one I assume manifests in regrets. Do I have regrets that I never came close to accomplishing what I wanted to when I competed in sports at the highest levels I ever will? Sure. Do I have regrets that I will have lived my entire life without ever experiencing what we call young love? Sure. In fact, it's possible I lived my entire life without ever having experienced romantic love. And those who've seen my videos know there is some anger associated with the love I've never experienced. One common age-related fear is dying alone. Not to belittle anyone's fears, but I think that's child's play compared to my fear. It's one thing to fear dying alone, it's another thing to fear living an entire life alone. And of course, when I say alone, I'm referring specifically to romantic companionship, because no one lives an entire life without human interaction. The bargaining stage is where we consider many of the anti-aging practices we should have been doing since our youths, like exercising, eating healthy, wearing sunscreen, and cultivating healthy relationships. Personally, my discipline to work out hasn't wavered much since my collegiate athletic days, and I'm mindful of everything I consume and how it contributes to my health. I will admit that wearing sunscreen daily is my bargaining practice, since I've only done this for the past 6 months and have recently developed a healthy fear for how sun exposure will affect me years from now. I assume for Gen Xers, the bargaining stage could manifest in midlife crises that straddle the fence between this stage and the depression stage. In this depression stage, we realize there is no turning back. It doesn't matter how many healthy habits you adopt or have ever maintained to this point, you can't reverse time. And coming to terms with that will require coping for many people. This is when you realize you can't go back in time to get better grades, or redo that dream job interview, or approach that person you had a crush on differently so you didn't have to settle with whoever you got stuck with.
Until I met you, Lois. You're my silver medal.
As I alluded to a moment ago, this stage requires coping, and successfully doing so will move you into the stage when we finally feel at peace. That stage is acceptance. For me, this stage manifests in regular sobering reminders of where I am in life. I now have classmates who have kids in high school. I have acquaintances my age who are on their third marriages, and counting. If you look at my music library, now we're getting really intimate, I don't have a single song in my music library that's been released after 2017. Coincidentally, the year that felt to me like pop culture made a distinct shift from millennial to Gen Z. And you know what? This is all okay to me. This is acceptance. Now, I'm not saying that I'm fully in the acceptance stage because I think there are different components of our identities that can cause us to reside within multiple stages of age-related grief at the same time. And here's a hot take. I think it's okay to have regrets because regrets incentivize us to improve our future selves and force us to value the time we have left. I'd argue that a healthy fear of aging is in part based on the awareness that time eventually runs out for all of us. This is what gives time its value.